Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome everyone to the third annual State of Education. I am Ginny Anzoma Glasner, President of the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to everyone in attendance this morning for engaging in this important conversation. We are especially grateful to our businesses that are sponsoring this event today. I would like to thank them for their support of the Chamber's mission, in addition to their support of this event. First Bank of Highland Park, thank you. Debbie Hyman, Century 21 affiliated, thank you. Debbie, where are you? I saw you, there you are. Thank you, Debbie. You're always in support of our educational initiatives in the Chamber, and we appreciate it. The Ravinia Festival, Gilbert Orthodontics, and TriLab Health. And I want to say thank you to TriLab, who is a new Chamber member and has graciously brought some things for people to take. If you'd like, they're on the side table, so thank you. It's because of your investment in the Chamber that allows us to do the work that we do to bring additional resources and value to our business community. Thank you to North Shore School District 112 for hosting us in the beautiful and newly renovated Northwood Middle School. This place is gorgeous. We have a lot to cover this morning, so let's briefly go over the outline for the program. Let's establish a few guidelines. Please turn off your cell phones. For the next 35 to 40 minutes, the superintendents will cover a variety of topics related to each of their districts. This will be followed by a period for questions and answers. As a reminder, we look forward to this being a civil discourse. If you have a question of general interest that you feel might benefit the entire audience, please share it. However, if your question is specific to your business or personal in context, we ask that you hold that and we will talk after. We are recording today's event, and it will be shared on the Chamber platforms, and it will be viewable afterward. And it is my pleasure to introduce the person who has been actively involved, actively working to bring about this initiative, the Chair of the Chamber Board of Directors, Kenneth A. Henry, Attorney at Law.
Always have to have my coffee.
There you go.
When I first appeared in this school, I didn't have to wear glasses. First of all, my name is Ken Henry. When somebody calls me Kenneth, I think it's either my mother or my wife, and I'm in trouble. Thank you all for coming here this morning. First of all, I'd like to recognize several members, because I don't do this alone. In addition, Ginny and Mike Clementina back there. I'd like to introduce several board members who are here this morning. Josh Gilbert from Gilbert Orthodontics, David Giangiorgi from First Bank of Highland Park, Felicite Clemens from Sunrise Senior Living, and Bruce Erickson from Summer Home Classics. They all give their time and their energy and efforts for the benefit of the business community. If you were to view the Chamber's website, you would see that part of our mission is to provide programs and services to encourage business development through promotion, advocacy, social connections, and education. Business development and education are critical components of a dynamic community. When the Chamber first organized the State of Education program 3 years ago, we recognized and understood that there is this nexus between education, good jobs, and successful businesses, all of which contribute to a thriving community. The Chamber's Board of Directors has set as one of its strategic objectives to provide solutions for pressing business needs. One of business's biggest challenges right now, and this will come as no surprise to you, is workforce, access to staff, hiring needs, labor. That is what is preventing many of our businesses from achieving further growth. One of our goals as a chamber is to work to ensure that our businesses have available to them diverse, skilled employees, that our students are trained to be the future workforce, and that ultimately our community is more appealing for residents and businesses alike. Carrying forward that idea and that objective in a practical and innovative way, the Chamber is proud to announce, and you'll hear more of this later, that in partnership with TrueNorth Educational Cooperative 804, aka NSSED for those of us who are old school, we are developing a program that will enable our students with challenges to participate in our community in a significant way by providing meaningful vocational opportunities. We anticipate that this program will benefit the students, their families, and our local businesses. Our goal for this program is to facilitate the inclusion of these students into the Highland Park community by fostering the continued development of life, social, and vocational skills that will benefit not only the students, but their families, the local business community, and the Highland Park community at large. Anyway, you'll get more on that later. You didn't come to hear me, frankly, so I have the pleasure of introducing the three district superintendents who will be presenting this morning. To my far left, that's just directional-wise, not necessarily politically, we have Dr. Michael Lubelfeld, who's the superintendent of North Shore School District 112, and I'm proud to say that I served on the board that hired him as a teacher in this district some years ago. In the middle, we have Dr. Kurt Schneider, who is the superintendent of TrueNorth Educational Cooperative 804. And to my immediate left is Dr. Bruce Law, the superintendent of Township High School District 113. Guys, it's your ball game. Got to leave that.
Thank you, Ken.
Got to take this.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Ken. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Lubelfeld, and I'm going to start the timer on my watch to make sure that I stay on time because we've got three folks to hear from, and then we want some Q&A. So first of all, a quick thank you to Vice President Lisa Hirsch of the North Shore School District 112 School Board. She is representing our board here in attendance. Thank you, Mrs. Hirsch. Lisa also serves on the Leadership Council of TrueNorth 804, so she's double leadership. Thank you very much, Lisa, for being here. I want to thank Dr. Efrain Martinez, the principal at Northwood Middle School, who is allowing us to host another event here in the beautiful Northwood Middle School, Dr. Martinez, and I'm very proud to see Mr. Jeremy Davis, the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, Mrs. Rachel Filippi, Principal at Sherwood School, Mr. Kevin Saunders, Associate Principal at Sherwood School, and Director of Communications Nicholas Glenn, who are here representing the leadership team of North Shore School District 112. So thank you all for being here. Yeah. So I'm going to use the clicker. All right, there you go. So because I'm the host superintendent, I get a couple minutes extra just to give you some introductory slides, but I promise these guys I won't be too talkative. So real briefly, TrueNorth, District 112 and District 113 are three very large employers and very significant entities here in the Highland Park and Highwood communities. We're very proud. We've been here for literally hundreds of years. So as you can see, TrueNorth is an educational cooperative made up of 18 school districts going down to the New Trier area and the Glenbrook area, all the way up to the Lake Forest area, and of course our Highland Park, Deerfield, Highwood, our basic area. District 112 proudly serves around 3,800 preschoolers through grade 8 students in town of Fort Sheridan, Highland Park, and Highwood. We've got 10 schools, which is pretty awesome. And School District 113 is the home of Deerfield High School and Highland Park High School, and they also have like 3,300 students and all that. Now, we are big employers. TrueNorth employs just under 400 people, and both 112 and 113 each employ around 550 to 560 people. We take our role as employers very seriously here. TrueNorth has an annual budget of about $33 million, 112, $88 million, and 113 about $102 million. As we've shared with you in the past, and as you know very well, funding of Illinois public schools is wonky and quirky, and we can have a whole series on that. We won't today, but just for your reminder, TrueNorth is unique, and it doesn't get direct property tax revenue. It gets revenue from the 18 school districts, a little bit of state aid and some federal aid. You'll notice that the numbers either exceed 100% or don't add up. We know that it's deliberate. These are rounding issues. In 112 and 113, we don't include other local sources on this statement of where our revenues come from. That is the other percentage that adds to 100. But the significant point, the takeaway, 112 and 113, your local property your local school districts generate incredible education, incredible students, as you know, in the workforce. We take a lot of money from local property taxpayers, and that is not by choice. It is how it is. 88% of the operating revenues in District 112 come from local property taxpayers. We wish it wasn't so. 113, it's 89%. One day we'll see a different distribution of funding in the state of Illinois, but that is not for today. I just wanted to share that with you. So, showing you the first ever look at the new logo for District 112. It's not final, so it's not ready for dissemination, but we've got a fresh lighthouse to show you that we are a beacon of light here on the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan, 25 miles north of Chicago and 25 miles south of the Wisconsin border, are 3 words that identify everything we think, say, and do. Those of you on the Rotary will appreciate that I've stolen that from the Rotary, are inspire, innovate, and engage. And everything we do is designed to inspire, innovate, and engage. Now, we're not going to belabor the pandemic. We're not going to lament. But on behalf of my colleagues, we would be remiss if we didn't start with that and then move forward. So here's a slide that I received at a Superintendent Strategy Summit in April. And I think it beautifully and elegantly identifies where we are and where we are. March 2020, pandemic was declared, schools closed, life sort of changed bigly, as they would say. A little humor for you. Okay, I won't quit the day job. So we entered into a period of chaos all across our lives, and especially in the schools. The chaos of the pandemic ensued and endured and was like an albatross around our necks organizationally. The fall of 2020, the spring of 2021, even the fall of 2021, believe it or not. Right now, I'm proud to report to you that we're in the season of transformation, and we can turn. In the spring of 22, we're looking at the future. So thank you for being here today, because we're looking at the future. And Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairwoman, the state of education is strong. I couldn't avoid saying that. So, District 112, some key facts just to really ground you and talk to you about your favorite public elementary school district. Our students are 65% white, 27% Hispanic, 3% are Asian, 2% are black, 4% are multiracial, 22% of our students qualify for the federal free and reduced lunch or are low income, 15% have an individualized education program or receive some type of special assistance or intervention, 16% are English learners. We're proud to operate 10 schools, and we have over 650,000 square feet of facilities that are maintained by the best maintenance and facility department anywhere. We have many points of pride to share with the Chamber this morning. We're proud to tell you that 2 of the schools in our district have been awarded the United States Department of Education's highest honor, the Blue Ribbon. First ever District 112 Blue Ribbon, Indian Trails School 2020, and second Blue Ribbon School, Braeside School 2021. 8 to go, and we're going to get there. Northwood Middle School, where you are right now, was modernized and it reopened on March 30th, 2021 with LEED Silver certification. Our board and the communities that we serve are committed to environmental sustenance and environmental sustainability, and we are too. We received a gold medallion, the highest award for school public relations for COVID-19 communication in 2021. And we are about to receive, thanks to Mr. Nicholas Glenn, who's here with us, the Golden Achievement Award for marketing and recruitment. We are deliberately and intentionally recruiting workforce, as Mr. Henry mentioned, and also to increase the diversity of the ethnic and racial makeup of the employees who serve our children through deliberate marketing campaigns. Dr. Monica Schrader, longtime member of our family here in 112, 16 years. She was named the Illinois Personnel Administrator of the Year for the entire state of Illinois. And we have 7 years of balanced budgets, and we continue to make sure that that is a non-negotiable for our board and for the work we have together. We have three guiding principles. My remarks this morning are going to focus on the state of education in North Shore School District 112 vis-a-vis the big three. The big three are board adopted, and they are closing achievement gaps: academic achievement, academic opportunity, equitable access and opportunity gaps among all the groups of our children. The portrait of a graduate, identifying the aspirational vision that we have for our students ages 3 through 14 as they travel through all of our campuses. And facilities upgrades and modernization, something that we're seeing the fruits of our labor right now, right here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to share with you right now, under closing the achievement gaps, taking standardized assessment data from 2019 to 2021, noting there was an absence in 2020 due to the global pandemic of any data. We are, thanks to our teachers, thanks to our educational support staff, thanks to our administrators, thanks to our parents, and thanks to our students, we are closing the academic achievement gaps. This is an example using English language arts, looking at children who are designated as low income versus children who are not. The gap is 5 points lower now than it was before the pandemic. We're proud of that. The gap between Hispanic children and white children is down 6 points. The gap between children with special needs and those without special needs is down 10 points. And the gap between children who are Black or African American or white Caucasian is down 14 points. Ladies and gentlemen, we are closing the academic achievement gaps. We have work to do, but we are fulfilling our mission to inspire, innovate, and engage, and we're proud of the support of the board. Looking at this a different way, but telling you basically the same story, if you look at the green line, that is looking at children in grades K through 8 as measured on a spring 2020-2021 spring map, measures of academic progress, standardized assessments. A lot of words. We use too many words in education. A test of reading. If you look at the green, that is the 75th percentile in the nation. It is the 50th percentile in District 112. So now, I will not stumble over my words. I will clarify what I'm trying to say. If you are in the 50th percentile, average or normal on a standardized test in North Shore School District 112, your performance is greater than nearly 3/4 of your peers around the United States. This is after a global pandemic. This is after a great deal of stress and crisis. We're proud of this. Looking at the reading, again, green is the 50th percentile, average, normal work in District 112, grade level work. If you perform at the 50th percentile, you're performing better than nearly 2/3 or almost 3/4 of the other students in the United States. The group of students against whom this is tested are millions. We're closing the academic achievement gaps. Our teachers are doing great work under brutal conditions that are hopefully becoming less brutal, and we're proud to show you that we are investing in our students and we're making progress. Now, what is a portrait of a graduate? Briefly, a portrait of a graduate is a set of aspirational vision statements designed by students, by teachers, by parents, by administrators, by a board member. Mr. Kessler of our board represented the board on this particular committee. This is adopted by the board. Over the time children are with us, we want and expect that they will, every child, each child, they will have a mastery of grade level content, have a mastery of performance expectations, find and evaluate information, learn and be innovative and have skills that go beyond the skills that maybe we knew about when we were younger, have an open mind to others' perspectives, and more. This is what we stand for, this is what our teachers do. Now, the big three also talks about facilities modernization. And Michael, we're going to show a 60-second video that I'm going to talk over. Oh, I'll stay here for the video. It's a 3-phase plan for facilities modernization. And if we don't get the video here, you'll see it on the tape. It's really good. What it shows is that in 2018, our board approved a plan that was created with a number of members of our community on a long-range planning committee. And that plan called for the design and building of Northwood Middle School and Edgewood Middle School. We designed with an equitable lens. Every child goes through the middle schools. So if all we could build were 2 schools, let's do the middle schools because every child would benefit. So that was our thinking. And right now you're benefiting from Northwood, which is built and open, and Edgewood is under construction. It's going to open in February or March of 2021. Here's something that's beautiful about this. This three-phased plan was done without a dedicated tax increase. So we used accumulated funds that were very responsibly held over from boards prior and administrations prior, and then we issued bonds that are paid for out of an alternative revenue source, not debt service, but the operation and maintenance fund, and we committed to self-funding this over the 20-year period of the bonds. So a $75 million investment has been awesome, and it's built us and got us Northwood and Edgewood. We're excited. Right now we're embarking upon phase 2 of the long-range plan. Phase 2 will address the neediest schools in the district in terms of physical needs and the effects of long-deferred maintenance. And those are Ravinia, Indian Trail, Sherwood, Braeside, and Wayne Thomas. And we need the community's help. We can't do that with alternative revenue bonds, and we can't do that exclusively with accumulated savings. So we're going to be coming to the community very likely in August. Our board is going to look at a bond that would be around $108.4 million, seeking that support from the communities to offset $118.4 million estimated costs to renovate the 5 neediest schools. And there I'm showing you phases 1, 2, and 3. Phase 1 is essentially done, and we're proud of that. Phase 3 would also be done without any dedicated taxes. Phase 2, though, we need your help. We can't do it without you. So we're excited to show you that. We launched a citizens task force made up of members of our community. We set up a public relations campaign reaching out to about 13,000 addresses in District 112, and we also got a great deal of feedback. And the major feedback we want to share with you right now is, thankfully, we may be able to go forward with this because about 60% have indicated yes, they would support this. We take that very seriously because no one likes to ask anybody for money. We're very sensitive to and conscious to the economy and everything else going on. However, our schools have been here for hundreds of years, and they're going to be here for hundreds more, and our schools are the foundation for your property values, your business, and everything else. So we're hoping that, that this works out. Now, what are the main reasons before I close? The main reasons are safety. They need updating. Better learning environments. Schooling is important. Jobs and staying current. We believe this. Folks, we are proud of North Shore School District 112. We're proud to represent children and families in Highland Park, Highwood, and Fort Sheridan. And the state of education is strong because of you. Thank you for the opportunity. It is now my absolute pleasure to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Bruce Law, Township High School District 113. Sir? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I remember when last time I did this, I made a promise. I believe it was a public promise not to follow Lubelfeld ever again, which I was thinking about as I was listening to him. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the opportunity. I want to acknowledge Board President Ken Fishbane, who's here. Karen Warner, our Director of Communications, thanks for attending. So today I want to talk about the state of education in District 113, and we'll be looking at, as Mike did, facilities and finance, but of course first we want to talk about students. I want to focus on the mission statement, and one phrase out of the mission statement, actually the part that says providing all students opportunities to realize their unique potential. You know, in the late 19th century, all high schools had one purpose and one purpose only, and that was to send kids to college. That was the only reason they existed. They had one focus. But starting in the 20th century, by the time we got to 1920, high schools were called comprehensive high schools because they did a lot more than that. They were preparing students for college, of course, but they're also preparing students for work. They're preparing students to be effective citizens and productive workers and all those things. And so high school became, in the early 20th century, comprehensive because all students who lived in an attendance area went to high school. So this all students part of our mission, that's our comprehensive part. We talked about that a little bit. And then the opportunities to realize their unique potential, that's actually the work of high school. Now, every grade in school is important, every grade. It's hard to say one grade is more important than another, and I don't want to say that. But high school is really, really important. And why is that? You know, I have a exercise bike, one of the things I do to try to hold off heart attack. And my bike happens to be in the front of the house overlooking the sidewalk. And on the weekends, when I don't have to do this quite so early in the morning and wonder just why I'm doing it, I see a lot of families going down the street. Couples walking together. I'll see parents with a stroller. The other day I saw a little guy. He must have been 3 or 4 years old, and he is on a bike with training wheels, and he is zipping. And he was so far out in front of his parents. I assumed his parents were back there somewhere, but he was on his way. And then the parents, sure enough, the parents came along later. They had a stroller, and they were just walking along. And I thought, that is exactly what high school is like. We give kids the means to do that. As soon as that little guy had the means, he was trying to go. The stroller, you know, the parents weren't pushing the kid. The kid had the means. He was on his way. The parents weren't pushing the stroller, saying, this is what it's going to feel like, get ready, here we go. They weren't doing that. They were just doing their thing. As soon as the student had the means, he was on his way. That's what we do in high school. In second grade, students go to third grade. We know this. From this elementary, they go to a middle school. From that middle school, they go to a high school. But once they get to high school, we prepare them to scatter. They all don't go to the same university. They all don't go to the same town. They go in all their directions. And that's why this part about their unique potential is so important. This is a scene from graduation this year. It's worth pointing out that we were back at Ravinia. It was beautiful. It felt normal. We've had pretty close to a normal year, and knocking on wood for that. All right, so how do we measure our schools? I would submit to you that we have great high schools in District 113. How do we know that? How do we measure our schools? Well, there are a few ways to do that. Both of our schools have been recognized by U.S. News and World Report, highly ranked in the state of Illinois, highly ranked in the country. This is an important statement of our schools and how effective they are. We're very proud of these rankings, these external organizations that say our schools are good schools. We're very proud of that. Other way you can measure the effectiveness of schools is by individual students, and there are just some lists, put a few things on the slide here. There are 161 U.S. presidential scholars total in the U.S. We had 2 semifinalists in our school. National merit is based on test scores and other factors, standardized test scores. Out of 1.5 million students who are eligible for this, there are 15,000 finalists nationwide. We had 20 in our schools. State scholars, that's based on SAT, ACT, class rank, and GPA. 279 scholars. This is roughly half of our graduating class. So we have a lot of accomplishments at the student level in academics. But remember, here we go, this thing. But remember, I was talking about this comprehensive nature of high school. It's striking to me how many times when students are speaking about what helped them in high school, what they remember most in their development and they are most grateful for, how many times students talk about sports, how many times they talk about their activities. These are the things that we offer in schools, and we have a lot of them in District 113 high schools that give students the opportunities to find their passion, to develop leadership skills, to do things in life that they find interesting that could turn into careers or could turn into other passions that they use in their careers. So this is another way I think we can measure our schools and say things the state of our schools is strong. We have multiple awards and extracurriculars: robotics, business competitions, computing, leadership, mock trial, theater, the arts. Our sports teams have been very successful. We have top 10 state finishes in soccer, swimming, diving, tennis, track, cross country, and wrestling. So from this standpoint, I think we have strong schools. We have a lot to offer our students as they enter our doors in 9th grade and get ready to scatter when they're 12. Another way that we can measure our high schools is by how much we give back to the community. And this is probably one of my favorite slides. And I don't know how many people know that every year there is what's called a school chest and at Deerfield High School and Charity Drive at Highland Park. And students select the charitable organizations for whom they do a lot of work, raise a lot of money, and spend a lot of time trying to help these organizations. We had Pause for Patrick at Deerfield High School this year, and Danny Did Foundation at Highland Park. And as you can see, over $200,000 raised just this year by our students for these charitable organizations. I think this is one of the very most important measurements of the success of our schools, that we have great students in our schools who are already thinking about how they give back to the community. All right, let's talk about instruction briefly. We have one instructional program in District 113. One of the things I learned from Kurt was that in the development of high school over the years, it started off as being one thing and all these programs got glommed onto it. And so instead of having a coherent instructional program, you have all these pieces that sometimes fit together and sometimes don't. So we have an honors program, we have an advanced placement program. These are classes that students take that get that earn college credit. You have students who are in special education. Tricky thing is, those students in special education, some of them are in the honors and AP class. So it's really difficult if you start trying to chop up a school into programs to have anything that looks coherent. In fact, in 113, our commitment is that there is just one instructional program, and it's got a lot of different pieces, and students are in various parts of it, and we want all of them to succeed. The other part of instruction that we're working on District 113 is in this next sentence, and I just want to take this apart just a little bit. Remember, in the mission statement, we talked about providing opportunities for all students to realize their unique potential. Those are nice sounding words. One of the things we do in education, I think, really well, is we have a lot of nice sounding words. It's impressive. But it's hard work. To provide the opportunities requires students have access, and to give students access requires us to help them in their capabilities and their abilities to access all of the things that we offer in District 113. So having equal access to the same curriculum, yeah, but that's hard work. It's so great to hear the academic success in District 112. All those students come to us. They got them for 9 years. We get them for 4. So the more progress that's made in the elementary districts, the further we can take them we get in high school. And I'm also very proud of the partnership we have with District 112 and 109, 106, and together we call ourselves 440. We're working together as a system to benefit all the students in our attendance areas, not just one school. But this is hard work. This work to give equal access, this is what we call equity. I don't know. There's a lot of talk about equity in various school districts around the country. I'm not sure what all they mean by that. What we mean by that in District 113 is providing students the skills, the supports, whatever those are, in order to give them access to these amazing opportunities we have in District 113 in order for them to realize their unique potential. All right, so Mike talked about pandemic. It's really hard not to talk about that. We're done with the pandemic. I mean, at least mentally. I'm not sure the pandemic's quite done with us. I'm not sure anyone, even cares about that anymore. But the pandemic is seriously not done with us because the effects that it had on our students are going to be with us for a long time. The data are starting to come in, and we know that the pandemic did not affect everyone the same way, and that there are some students who were really hit hard. In 2021-22, we started this thing called a multi-tiered system of supports. And what we're trying to do is put structurally into the school a framework that would allow us to provide supports to any students who needed those supports. In fact, with the support of the board, we hired a lot of people specifically to help us meet those needs. In 22-23, this multi-tiered system of supports framework is now part of just the way we do school, and the board supported staffing it as a priority. And this is important because as students continue to come through our schools, we need to make sure that we have a high academic, rigorous curriculum that also has a high level of supports, and that we have early warning systems that allow us to know early if students need support. We had these issues before the pandemic. The pandemic, of course, just made them worse. I wanted to mention also in State of School that the work that we do in the summer, I know when you all got here, when I got here, I was all excited, like, look at all these people coming to this. But they were, schools are busy places even in the summer. And our students in summer school, we have retooled summer school, so now we're focusing on credit recovery, and we're also focusing on enrichment. And as you can see, 89% of students who we auto-enrolled them in school actually earn credit back. This is an important part of what we're doing in District 113 to make sure that there are students who have fallen behind, that we help them to catch up. All right, facilities. Moving on to this. I put this slide in here because in 2016, there was a study that was done, and the question of the study was, how much would schools have to pay, how much spend, I should say, on their facilities every year in order to keep up with construction needs? Now, this is an important question because our schools are facilities intensive. One of the things we learned from the pandemic is just how important it is, this place we call school, how important it is to students. It's important to their learning, it's important to their social emotional development, and there was talk, you hear this before the pandemic of, well, maybe we don't need schools anymore. We have these things called computers. We can do this online. Oh, no, we can't. We learned from the pandemic very clearly what educators already knew is that learning is a very important social interaction, and it's a very important and very complex social interaction, and the best place for it to take place is in schools. So, 2016, there was a study, and it said, how much would schools have to pay each year for construction if they were to keep up? And so they came up with a formula, $400 per square foot times the number of square feet times 4%. Now, in District 113, we have 1.2 million square feet. If you do that math, that's $19.2 million annually. We do not have that much money in our operating budget for facilities. Out of $100 million, that would be 20%. Now, these are 2016 dollars. I thought about doing the math to try to catch it up to 2022, but I didn't, because I knew after we did that math, by the time I was standing here, that number would already be low. So, 20 million is too low. We know that. But that's what schools, and we don't do that because we are a service industry, and as you'll see, most of our money goes to salary and benefits, as you would expect in the service industry, but we are facilities intensive. However, we still work on our facilities. This is an old slide. Yeah, our master facilities plan was completed in 2022. I'm not sure what it says X. It's completed in 2022. Master facilities plan is 10 years, about every 10 years or so, school districts have to look at, are the facilities providing the spaces that are needed to support the instructional practices that are going on inside them. It's also an opportunity to assess infrastructure. It's nice and cool in here. That took something. Not all schools have air conditioning, hard as that is to believe, but it's the case. So we're constantly looking at infrastructure. Some of the things we have underway, Highland Park Library, we have life skills classes in both schools. Those renovations are underway. The board will receive bids for the Deerfield Auditorium, which hasn't been really touched since 1960. It was installed backwards when it was put in, meaning the sound goes in the wrong direction. They told me that. I thought that was some urban myth, but when you get there, the sound does not go from the stage to the back. If you're having a conversation in the back, it goes perfectly to the front. It will not go to the back. So there's work. There's a lot of work to do. The infrastructure projects that we're looking at, very important part of what we're doing in school facilities. Now, there are a lot of other projects in the master facilities plan. District 112 is ahead of us in figuring out how to pay for those, but remember, schools do not have in their operating budget the capacity to keep up, which is why, and this is, maybe Mike can't say this, but I can on his behalf, which is why about every 10 or 15 years ago, school districts fall behind and have to go to the community and say, we need help. For these facility improvements that we're doing, the library, life skills class, auditorium, and infrastructure, we are also using money from our operating budget. This is we also sold alternate revenue bonds, as Mike was referring to, in District 112, and that allows us to pay for things and get an infusion of cash without raising taxes. The issue, of course, as 112 has experienced, is that infusion of cash is not enough to cover all the needs because maintaining schools is very, very expensive. All right, let's move on to finances. I threw this slide in because I think it's really important. District 113 has earned this award, a Certificate of Excellence Financial Reporting for 30 consecutive years. Transparency of financial reporting is extremely important to us. It's not our money. This is not our money. It's taxpayer money. You send it to us. We become stewards of it. So the transparency of reporting is part of our responsibility back to the community, and we've won awards for it. If you can see them on our website. If you ever have any question about finance, please call, because we're happy to talk about that. It's not our money, and transparency is important. I just wanted to show this quickly, and would like to offer a different way of thinking about property taxes. As Mike said, 89% of our revenue comes from local property taxes. Schools are expensive. Schools have always been expensive endeavors. The first public school in Massachusetts in 1840, Horace Mann asked for $2 million. He got $1 million. We've been struggling ever since. But the different way of thinking about property taxes is, since schools are expensive, the money's got to come from somewhere. Where do you want it to come from? Do you want to send money to Springfield and get a haircut and see how much comes back? Or do you want to have money that's generated locally where we have local control over it? These are things that politicians sort out. In my experience in working with Springfield, I'm much more comfortable working with the Board of Education to figure out how much of a levy to approve and how to spend the money, because that local control allows us to meet our needs. Expenditures, as you can see, as referred to earlier, 79% of our budget, of our operating budget, goes to salaries and benefits. As a service industry, I think that's what you would expect. When you look at other things like, wow, how much, this purchase services, what are those? Those are professional services, legal fees, insurance. When students occasionally when they have to be educated outside of District 113. But the fact is, in every school district, our job is to convert taxpayer money into value for students. And the way we do that principally is by having great teachers, great programs that allow students to reach their unique potential. All right, I do want to mention something about the budget. As stewards of taxpayer dollars, one of the things we do is we look out over 5 years and we start doing budget projections, and we try to see where we are. So a structural budget deficit occurs when your recurring expenses exceed your recurring revenue. It's not because you've spent too much money on a facility. It's not that. We're talking about recurring expenditures, and you match that against your recurring revenue, and you see where we are. In November, December timeframe of 2021, based on what we knew and could reasonably assume, who knew, right? I mean, at that time of the fiscal year, we saw a $1.2 million structural budget deficit that the board allowed us to work, to draw down over time. We've got the financial resources. We didn't have to do it all at once. But I'm very, very proud to say that in 1 year, we reduced expenditures in order to have a balanced budget. Now, there's an asterisk next to that balanced budget because there is still work to be done, I think, on the expenditure side. There are a lot of movements in. We projected $150,000 in interest income for FY22. Now we're looking at $1.5 million in interest income for FY23. That is a very big swing in one fiscal year. It's because interest rates are going up, so the money that we earn on our investments is also going up. That money should not be used to fund the operations. So we're still trying to work through some of these issues, but when it comes to the accounting part of it, though, we have a balanced budget for FY23. I'm very proud of that. This last slide is meant to be a transition to my colleague Kurt, but also it gets at this idea of the comprehensive nature of high schools. In the state of Illinois, there are students who qualify for services from age 18 to age 22. And we just had a grand opening of a transition center right in Highland Park. It is a beautiful space, and it is one of these opportunities that I've not seen before. TrueNorth has the transition program. It's a District 113 space. We have students from District 113 and Glenbrook 225, and this amazing partnership with the Chamber. I can't thank Jenny and Ken enough, not only for this event, I should thank you for this event, but this work that you're doing to provide opportunities to our young adults between ages 18 and 22, the difference it will make in their lives and the difference that it will make in the community. I don't know that we know that yet, but it is amazing. And that is our mission in District 113, is to help all students achieve their unique potential. And this transition program that is now going to be in the city of Highland Park is the latest example of that. And we're very proud of it. Thank you so much.
All right. Good morning. I'm Kurt Schneider. I'm the superintendent at TrueNorth, and it's great to be here. I want to recognize my colleagues, Bruce and Mike. They're just wonderful to work with, and it's awesome to be part of the community conversation that includes TrueNorth. We represent, as everyone's mentioned, 18 school districts, and so part of our work has really been to really figure out pathways for students, all students, but particularly students with disabilities, to have meaningful experiences early childhood through what Bruce just said, through 22. We just recently went through a name change on purpose because language is important, and setting your mission and your vision in the language that you use is important. And our students and our families were saying, you know, the Northern Suburban Special Education District, first of all, there's no such thing as special education districts anymore. And it also separates kids and families. And so we want all of our kids to be participating in our schools. We actually don't want many spaces. We want to be embedded into spaces that everyone else already accesses, so that there isn't a segregation occurring within education. So the words True North, true meaning true to the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. North, we're part of the northern suburbs of Chicago, and then conceptually, when you put the two together, True North is about destination and direction based upon these values. And so we're really proud of that. We launched that name here, actually, at this conversation last year. So our mission statement is being committed to the possibilities of every learner every day. You notice it doesn't say, oh, you want me to be more over here? Oh, I'm on camera. I'm also a professor, so I'm used to being able to move around. But we're committed to every learner every day. You notice it doesn't say every learner with a disability, or every learner of color, or every learner or based upon multiple languages. It truly is about every learner, meaning students, families, community members, and so that when we're coming together, we're really talking about everyone as a learner. And so our mission is to really, as I mentioned, to include everyone to the greatest extent that we can. And so that's purposefully challenging the notions of segregation within schools, within our communities, and within our society at large. So we wanted to share a little bit of a video again that we shared last year when we were unveiling our name, which really speaks to this mission because that guides all of our work.
Since 1960, we have been pioneers in shaping education for diverse learners. Over time, we have supported and refined our progressive values. We have evolved our mission, and today we are excited to announce our new name, TrueNorth Educational Cooperative 804. For us, every learner every day is our promise to the people we serve. Our commitment to opportunities, justice, and inclusivity guides us in all that we do. We are dedicated to inspiring everyone to lead full lives through participation in their schools and communities. While these values drive who we are, they can only be accomplished together as we guide learners and their families in their journey. Living and breathing these values will transform the lives of learners for generations to come. Make it happen today and help us bring True North to life in everything you do.
So with our work, we use those values to guide everything that we do. And so it's really, really important that kids have the same opportunities and experiences that everybody else gets to have. And so when Mike and when Bruce talked about those gaps in learning, whether that's in science or social studies or reading or math, wherever those gaps are, we want to view ourselves as being a partner, an extension of 113 or 112 or any of the other districts that we work with to help close those opportunity gaps. And so whether that's in early childhood, whether that's K through 12, and now also whether that's employment, we want to make sure that we're a resource to all of our districts to be able to help address those issues. No one school district can work on these complex issues alone. So for us, we have square footage. We're tucked away on Red Oak campus. There's 3 sort of structural buildings there. You can see the square footage and the asset and the representation of that to all of our districts. But by and large, what we're trying to do is actually get out of spaces so that we can get into communities and be embedded right within the community. And so I'll mention a little bit more and a little bit later about what that means here in terms of that workforce development initiative. So just to be brief, if you want to have kids when they exit school systems to have a job, to have some, a social life, to have somebody to eat with on Friday night, so on and so forth, you have to have had a school experience where you've been included. If you've been separated your whole life, it's really statistically and also just impossible to be able to then have an inclusive life beyond high school once you exit the system. So the more likely that you are to be included, the more likely you are to have a job, live on your own, get to and from your work, have somebody to have dinner with, have a full, meaningful life. And so it's not true in Illinois that it's as strong as we would want it to be. So Illinois is challenged when you exit the school system, particularly for students with disabilities, and that's what we're trying to address. So a few ugly statistics that I'm not sure everyone is always aware of, but essentially in Illinois, what we experience, and there's a whole host of long-term reasons why this is that we have students that only about 44% of students who have more of a complex disability may have a job. And in terms of then what they earn is even less. And so essentially what happens is many students and families are exiting school systems having been included, going into an adult system that's not actually set up for them. So they don't have a job. If they do, it's earning a wage that's not livable. And so they become dependent on the community for the resources that it has. So the more that individuals can have in terms of the skills and also the opportunities and experiences to have employment, to live in housing that's integrated like everybody else gets to have, all the better for them and also for the community at large. When you compare Illinois to our neighboring states, you can see that statistically our neighbors spend a lot more money and use their resources differently to support community integration. And so in Illinois, we're one of the states that spends most of our money on separate institutions. And so we spend more money statistically on promoting self-contained environments than on inclusive environments. And so the dollars that are available actually go to support that segregation, but our neighbors don't. So what happens here, especially where we're geographically located, is a lot of the students and families will get to that point, they'll have been included with Mike, they get to Bruce, they'll be included at the high school, they might get a job, and when they're ready to exit, there's not a lot of resource and supports available, and so what happens is the families call it a cliff, where the student will have to live with them, or they move, and they have to literally physically get up and move out of the state of Illinois, and they'll cross the border into Wisconsin to access a lot of those services that are available elsewhere. That's what we're trying to partner with our districts to correct. So you can see as a state, we rank 44th in community-based funding of services. Most students who have a disability end up living with their parents. As parents get older, then that becomes a crisis point. There's many waiting lists for the community services that are even available, which are few. And then, as I mentioned, we fund the most state institutions, some of the most in the country. And so our unemployment rate, if you do have a disability, is well over 90%. And so pretty bleak outcomes. And so there's solutions to this, and that's what we've been talking about. So what we have been educating all of our school districts, and Bruce just mentioned this, is that schools have done a really good job at separating kids into silos and pockets over time. And so what we're trying to do is work with all of our districts to be able to say, no, we don't want necessarily the student to leave the school in which the parents pay taxes to come to the Red Oak campus. What we want to be able to do is have the students supported right within the school district so that they can go to the same school that everybody else gets to go to. And so you can see over time, students with disabilities, you can see that trend of sort of inclusion, which is back to our name as our guiding mission, has been to support districts in continuing to make progress in that effort. So our data, we look across all 18 districts and we take the student data and we say, okay, so of the students who may have a disability, for example, of those students, how many are spending most of their day in their home district, in their home school, and in the classrooms in which everybody else is accessing? And what's that percent of time look like? And what you see here is a nice positive 6-year trend across the region of these 18 school systems that everyone is pushing to have more and more students have that access. That access is what Mike talked about, which is a driving reason why those gaps in learning are beginning to close, because more students are accessing that core instruction where everyone else is accessing it. They're getting that access, that opportunity to that rigor. That is the #1 predictor of making sure that gaps in achievement are closing. The second initiative that we've been working aggressively on, which several people have mentioned, is this workforce development effort. So not only do we want students included, early childhood through grade 12, but if you have an IEP, you can continue to receive services federally. It's expected through the age of 22. And so what we want to do is spend those 4 years really hitting hard, making sure that students' days get set up so that when we transition them and they exit the school system entirely, their day actually is replicable and easy to maintain and supported by the adult system. And so to do that, you got to have a job, and you got to have a community that embraces its full diversity. And Highland Park and in Deerfield in particular have these strong values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what was really nice is giving the same talk the last couple of years, it was actually Ken and Jenny who came up to me afterwards and said, hey, we can be a solution to this because we might be a conduit to be able to help you get more employers and access to employment for kids so that when they transition, they do have a job, they can support themselves longer. We can figure out how to get them transportation to and from their job. And to do that, we need 2 things. Usually there are 2 significant barriers. You don't have the job, or you don't have the transportation. And so what we've been able to do is say, okay, so how can we get access to the transportation? So physically, that space, what you see here represented in terms of what's on the picture, is we have worked with District 113 to embed right within the community at a really prime real estate location an opportunity so that we can have a base for students around employment. And so here on Elm Street, so we're going to be, participating right within the community. Easy access to transportation. If you go from home to work, you can just go from home to work like I do. If you walk, great. If you have need of transportation, you're much more able to access the public transportation that's around the community right within the neighborhood. So it's instead of sort of going to the Red Oak campus where we're more of a segregated location, not physically located near anything in terms of the heart and the hub of the community, what we're trying to do is partner with the community to be able to actually deliver that right here. So we're really excited. We have a ribbon cutting ceremony. Everybody was there. And so that's going to be launched in the fall. But the other part of it is it's not about a space, because the kids really shouldn't even necessarily even be at this space. They should be at a job. But to do that, we need a community that's going to open more doors to more employment opportunities. And so that's the other part of the Chamber's work with us, is to be able to really pool, gather who do we know, what are the employers that we know, what questions do they have, what are some of the issues that they have. Is there another pipeline of a workforce that can be beneficial to the employer first and foremost, because it's got to make good business sense. And at the same time, it's going to help train and educate, a student with a disability and give them an opportunity. And so it's not charity, it's nothing like that. It truly is driven from the needs of the community. And it's got to make good business sense, it's got to be economical, and at the same time, it's got to also then meet the need of a student and a family. And so by having more of these employers on board to be able to help provide and meet their need as well as the educational need is something that you don't see a lot in the country. And so when I was talking with Ginny just this morning, we actually have been asked and have submitted to be able to participate in presenting some of this pilot work nationally, because you don't see this kind of collaboration amongst the school, the community, a chamber, a cooperative, all aligned, working in a common direction on behalf of kids and families. And so what I always like to end with is who's participating and supporting the work, because this is where you want to spend your money. Support these people. And so hopefully when I come back next year, we'll have another 20 group of people added to the list, and so that you can see who participates. It's got to, as I said, make good business sense, but also who's participating and doing good things for kids. And so, take good note of who these are. Somebody had said to me last year, well, let's also have a list of who said no. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start with the positive. So these are the folks that are participating with us now. Our next edges of work are involving HYA, which is Hazard, Young, and Atia, around strategic planning. What we're also trying to do is not just be a resource for students with disabilities, because what we do also helps many other kids. So we should just be a hub to help kids. And so whether that's helping around students of color and closing gaps in learning, whether that's kids who speak multiple languages, whether that's kids who come from various social class backgrounds, so on and so forth, sort of a center of excellence concept, where historically we were just sort of known for really helping a very narrowly defined group of disability populations. And so what we're hoping to be able to do is crack that door open and help more kids, because a lot of strategies are just good strategies that cut across all different groups of people. So stay tuned next year as we further flesh that out. So just in closing, great collaborations. It's just really exciting to be able to be part of this, to be included. Sometimes we're the forgotten kid around the corner. To be part of this is something that's an honor that we take seriously. And so I think I'm at the point where we would just open it up, everyone, for questions.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dr. Lubelfeld, Dr. Law, and Dr. Schneider. So appreciate that. Before we open the floor to questions from the audience, we have a couple initial questions. Kurt, how can the community support the cooperative?
The community can support the cooperative first and foremost in this particular example around employment. So if there's folks that you know who would be really, great partners, we would love to have those names. You can send them to me and I can grab them, to Ginny as well. That would be a really good first step, because let's support the work that currently is underway. Would be a huge benefit to all of us. And our staff, Lynn, if you want to raise your hand, you're kind of up in the back. She's also a great person. I'm going to talk to her at the end of the presentation. She helps organize that division.
And the next question, what are the biggest challenges schools face? That's a really big question, I think.
Oh my gosh, okay. So
Where do we
the
start?
greatest challenges that schools face are the funding system that supports the public schools. Greatest challenge is meeting the facilities needs to prepare for a modern workforce in facilities that were designed decades or even a century ago. Challenges schools face are overcoming the ills of society, while some in society are ill. Leave it at that. Some of the other challenges that schools face are the societal breakdown that we saw during the global pandemic of access to government and being heard in our representative democratic way of life. And often the only government people can access are the schools, and that's putting an unenviable and untenable burden on locally elected boards of education and those of us who are appointed by the boards to serve the schools.
To that I would add one thing. I think one of the biggest challenges we face in schools is how to support students socially and emotionally. We do academics really, really well. We know how to do this. We have a lot of success stories we can point to as evidence of that. But one of the things that, and this has been a growing issue in schools, and it just seems like it's becoming even more pronounced, is students they're stressed, they're anxious, and I mean, who's not? But in school, it really is showing up. And so I think one of the things I worry about is, do we have the ability to rise to that? I mean, the academics are very confident in that, but as a school, can we evolve? Can we improve what we do and even change what we do so that we are able to support students socially, emotionally? Because we're not doing what we need to do if they are able to do all these things academically, but they are not living their best life because of all the stress and pressure. And I think schools, we put a lot of money into our student services, and I think that's not just 113. I think all schools are facing that challenge of how you support students. And the other thing I would mention, Mike alluded to this, is we've got a significant group of parents who feel like they've been systematically excluded from school. And so how do we have responsible and productive civil discussions with the parents who send us their children and expect us to provide that education? They need to be partners. We need to figure out, I think, how to engage them better.
Thank you. All right, who has a question? Lori?
Hi. First of all, I just want to say I deal with many school districts across the country, and I want to just compliment you on all three of you on what you've done the past 2 years. It hasn't been easy, but you've done just a yeoman's job as a member of the community. I want to thank you for that. But I do have two questions. Okay, one for high school, one for Mike. First of all, for the high school, there's rumors going around that one of the high schools is going to be closed. Is that true? Okay, and then my question is, well, I guess I'll leave it at that.
So the first question is the rumor true that one of the high schools is going to be closed?
And my other comment is, as a member of the community who does not have children in school, but who really values education, what can people in my group do to make sure that this referendum is passed?
And the second question, what can we do to make sure the referendum is passed? All right.
So to the first question, the answer is no. The board was looking as the master facility plan was being completed, and part of that is doing a demography study. The board actually did two. And it appears that we're going to have fewer students enrolling in District 113 over time. And these are projections, of course. And so the board wanted to take a moment, and before embarking on any big facilities projects, or before making commitments to other operational expenses, to broach this very, very difficult question. Is it in the best interest of the students in District 113 and of taxpayers in District 113 that we focus all of our work into one school? All the facilities expenditures would be in one school, all the academic expenditures would be in one school, all that. Is it in the best interest of the students and taxpayers? And so the board had town hall meetings, and they did a lot of listening. At the end of that, the board heard very clearly from the people who came that no, we understand that maintaining two comprehensive high school facilities is expensive. We also understand programmatically it's expensive, particularly when you have declining in student enrollment. But as a community, it's worth it to us to have two schools, and that's where the board landed. I think that was in September, October, last fall.
All right, thank you for the question. Now I have to do a couple of legal comments and mumbo jumbo, just because we're subjected to a great deal of restriction. However, because the board has not yet voted to put a ballot forward in November, I can answer your question directly. I'll go back from November. So the question is, how can people who no longer have students in the schools and may not be as dialed into our communications and our daily rigmarole support a potential referendum, ballot initiative, and make sure that it passes? Now, November is the election, so if people go to vote on election day, or if they vote by mail, vote absentee, or vote early, if the board is going to put a referendum forward, they will vote on that August 16th in a public board meeting in open session. It's likely they will. July 26th is the next regular meeting of the Board of Education, North Shore School District 112. It'll be live, public, and open. An attorney for the board will make a presentation to the board and the public, a referendum do's and don'ts. And they'll talk about what we as employees and what they as elected officials are allowed to do or say if that happens. So I, as a superintendent of schools, will not be allowed legally to tell anybody how to vote about anything. It's strictly prohibited, policy 2:105, ethics and political activities. What I can say to you right now, though, in an answer existentially, should a referendum be put on the ballot and should it be there for you, my team, Nicholas and I and our team, will continue to put out objective information about what we are planning to do, how we're planning to do it, our version of why we're planning to do it, but we can never say, please vote yes. That's where we need you. There will be, very likely, if a referendum ballot initiative is voted on August 16th, in between August 16th and November 8th, there will very likely be an independent of the school district political action campaign. And that political action campaign will be made up of citizens who, like yourself, are dedicated to the improvement of the schools and the facilitation of facilities, even with a short-term public tax ask. And the best way will be to find out who is on that committee and how that is working. Any questions about School District 112, objectively and factually, can be directed to 224-765-3000. Our staff will answer and guide and direct you. So I hope that helps. Get the word out, tell everyone you know. We need massive turnout from those who are age 65 and plus, and who are 18 to 44. Everyone else is important too, but our poster said those first two demographics are essential so we can continue to build for our future and support our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question? Yes.
I have a statement and a question. Dr. Lubelfeld, I'm a parent, and I am at liberty to answer a portion of that question if you don't mind.
No, please
but I would just share that my son goes to Brayside, and he suffered an injury where he did a boot and on crutches for about 4 weeks. And while he was injured, his only way to access the cafeteria and the library was to sit on his bottom during COVID, with his hands on the stairs, and to scoot up and down the stairs because we don't have an elevator at the school. So when we talk about the need for a referendum, these are the types of stories that I like to come out and share with the community, because it's not all about the prettiness. Our school here is fabulous, but it's about some of just the basic needs that our kids don't have. And with that, my question or my statement is, I'm now here in Northwood, even though I live in Brayside. My daughter goes here because she's immunocompromised. And because she's immunocompromised, she needed a building that had an exhaust system that would protect her from COVID, because she's particularly susceptible to respiratory viruses. And so these are just the stories that I think are so important, but that don't necessarily get a chance to get out. So I'm so grateful to the Chamber for organizing this event that allows us to come together. And I'm also thankful to the superintendents for being here. And since I have you all, and I also happen to be the president of Northwood PTO, I just want to make an ask. At Northwood, we love our beautiful school. It's amazing. Our kids are learning. And in the winter of this year, we launched what's called Northwood Renewed as a PTO. And the purpose of this is to bring in motivational speakers and talkers to come in and talk to our kids. Because we have a lot of kids, even at this grade level, who don't see what their next steps are. We have the privilege of having Neil Goldberg, who is the owner of Nothing But Cape, and also a Northwood alumnus. He came in, he spoke to our kids, he talked about his success stories, and we want to continue that going forward. So, whether you're orthodontist or real estate agent, we're not going to ask you for money, but what we would love is for an hour of your time during the school term, where you would come in, speak to our kids, not necessarily about the 4 or the 6-year degree. Talk to them about your dental assistants. Talk to them about all the things that they can do that can help enhance their lives. So I just want to put that out there, extend the invitation. We'd love to have you. Our building is now open, so you can come into this wonderful auditorium and talk to our kids, and we would love that. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris, for that wonderful suggestion, and we'd be happy to facilitate that invitation to our business community.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll take it.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have a comment and a small suggestion. As a special needs parent and a special education teacher, I am thrilled with the whole TrueNorth transformation, and especially with what you're doing in the community now with the young adult needs and job training and so on. I'm just as excited about the fact that you like to expand that beyond just students with disabilities. And so along those lines, I have a small suggestion for where you could start. When my son was at Highland Park High School, I think this is about 5 years ago, he participated in a financial literacy program. It was advertised. You attended 5 days after school, 2.5 hours a time. And for him, the hook was that if you attended all 5 sessions, they'd give you $100. So he signed up. And I don't know who brought the program in. I don't know what the content was. I know they visited at least one bank. It was general financial literacy, and by the end of it, he had completely transformed his relationship to money. He started.
Well, we actually have 2 bankers here. So we can continue that conversation after. Thanks. I want to thank all of you for coming today. I want to also give a special thank you to Nicholas Glenn from District 112 and to Michael Lamatina, the Chamber Communications Manager, for the technical operation today. And as Ken mentioned earlier, I also want to add, I can't do this job alone, so I am very grateful to my colleague Michael and to the Chamber Board of Directors to allow me to do what I do. Please look for information to come on the Chamber's next conversation, because it's really incumbent upon us as businesses and community to stay informed on the issues that impact us all. We will follow up with all of you via email for feedback, and also to send a link to a digital program that will have additional information from the districts and from our sponsors. And if you did not RSVP through the Chamber, please share your emails with us so that we can provide the material to you. Thank you all for attending this morning.
Thank you.